and welcome everyone to the Restream Studio Gather at the Hearth. This is LinkedIn's new audio format, so whether you're hearing this live or via the recording, this is the way things look and sound for our weekly program. Please feel free to use the chat window to say hello, tell me where you're joining us from, make comments, or ask questions. And I hope you're not only holding your own, but feeling empowered by any positive means necessary, even during these challenging times. And for those of you who do not know me, I'm Terise Lang, and I'm a faith and empathy-fueled life, health, and wellness coach. Working with me, women have been able to improve their health, reclaim their energy, and reignite that spark of hope and enthusiasm. Enjoying satisfying relationships is part of a life that goes way beyond that survival default that nobody wants. Rock, survive, you deserve more. Following my custom tailored, multi pronged approach and taking small, doable steps one at a time, they can go from just okay to hooray and drop excuses to embrace exuberance in their lives. If you've messaged me on LinkedIn or just grab that black and white QR code with your camera phone to book your complimentary wellness chat, we can talk about your personal focus or goals and map out a plan of structure and ongoing encouragement to get you there. Once in a while, everybody benefits from having a cheerleader and reliable accountability partner. And as a reminder, Gather at the Hearth is a supportive and now recorded space where we come together weekly to encourage, motivate, inspire, and inform each other. And that brings me to today's relevant Gather at the Hearth topic, healing out loud. Rashida, known by many as Optimist Rashida, is a mental health advocate, writer, and founder and CEO of Optimist Station, which is a heart centered healing space that she created to be the sanctuary she wished existed when she was at her lowest. Nearly 10 years ago, she battled suicidal thoughts and attempts in silence, shaped by years of abuse, betrayal, and the crushing weight of unhealed trauma. There's a lot of that in our community. In those darkest moments, what she needed most was a space. She was looking for a space, seriously, to be heard, seen, held, and reminded that her life still had meaning. That's one of the reasons why I created this space, because I wanted people to have that. Today, through Optimist Station, Rashida is helping others find that safe space within themselves. She blends her lived experience, emotional resilience, and soulful storytelling to guide trauma survivors, and there are a lot of them, to break free from their silence and reclaim their voice and walk gently toward hope. Her message is rooted in compassion, and it really is. I have heard her speak before. And she says, you are not broken, you are healing, you're never alone. So, Rashida, let us know what you came to share today from your personal story and your experience. The floor is yours, and I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for having me, Therese, and making, like you said, a safe space where people can be heard, because that's where it really all started for me with the whole healing out loud thing. Was I never really realized until later in life that I could speak out loud. I could sing out loud if my heart so wanted to, which it does. That's another show, another day. But I was always silenced or shushed, uh, made to feel small or inferior, primarily because of my father's abuse, not only for myself, but to my mom and my siblings, which I witnessed throughout my entire upbringing until my late adolescence of like my mid 30s, I will be honest and say, which, if you can imagine that length of trauma, repeated traumas in various forms, not only results in CPTSD, chronic or complex post traumatic stress disorder, but a host of other health disabilities, ailments, whatever, that are scars that, if not treated properly, can ruin a person. And that's why I was suicidal 10 years ago.
Wow. You know that you're right about the scarring, and a lot of people don't realize. We're not faucets. You just turn us all on, turn us off, and everything's fine. Human beings aren't linear like that, and when they have emotional scars, you can heal external scars. If you get a cut or something like that, even some burns. But the emotional scarring is another thing altogether. So let me be quiet so you can go ahead with what you have to say.
Oh, no, I welcome, the honest conversation, because conversation is a two-way thing, or sometimes a multi-way thing if, others feel compelled to
Yeah,
speak up. And it's again going back to the courage of letting them know that they are allowed to speak up. They don't need anybody's permission. That's a birth-given right that should extend to all humans. And whether people realize that or not just depends on their particular moment or stage in their journey of healing, because they might not even know it's a possibility yet. I didn't know 10 years ago. That's why I stayed trapped. And everyone will always ask you, as an abuser, I'm sorry, as an abusee, the one that was being abused, why did you stay with your abuser for so long? Why didn't you call the cops? Why didn't you try to get out? The real honest answer to that: you don't feel like there's a way. You don't see a solution. You see that you're stuck dealing with that for the rest of your life, and that's how it is. And unfortunately, some women, and men for that matter, but mostly women, lose their lives because they get abused so much they die from it, let alone the suicide aspect of it. So there's two double-edged swords right there. That's the reason why people stay stuck or trapped or small, because they don't see that there's even a way positively out of it. They seem like that's their fate forever. That's all they knew, so that's what they accept as reality. But it is far, far from reality, my friends. You can get out if you want to, and if you know that it's possible.
absolutely. And yes, you are right that we don't need permission. But I have a tendency sometimes to talk a lot, and I want you to have the opportunity to say everything you want to say. And, Rashida, I did know women who suffered abuse. They would come in with scars, they would come in with black eyes and make up all kinds of stories. So it's really important when you talk about open your mouth, say something, do something for yourself. You are not, I know, at least from my Christian body of belief, we believe that marriage is forever, for instance. But if you are married, it doesn't say you have to die at the hands of your spouse, ever, ever.
Exactly. And I stand by the same philosophy, even though I am a Muslim. It's a slightly variation of faith, but it is still faith. And it says that in our scripture as well, that divorce is highly discouraged, but allowed in certain instances where, especially in abuse situations, where the woman, or sometimes men, get abused by their wives too. The other end of the spectrum, it's a thing that if one spouse is being abused by the other, and they're literally almost to death from it, or they feel suicidal from it, they shouldn't have to stay and tolerate that pain or that near death for the sanctity of marriage. A real, honest, true, genuine marriage that is meant to be should have the sanctity of love, not abuse, caring, nurturing, all the good qualities that supports and enhances one another, brings out the best in each other, balances and harmonizes each other, not either one of them hurting each other. And if they hurt each other by not intending to, but by accident or misstep, apologize, admit it, learn from it, grow from it, and by all means, for the sake of God, do not repeat those mistakes. And if you see a pattern of yourself doing it, or your spouse doing it to you, or your spouse doing it to your children, even worse, God forbid, you are not obligated to tolerate that. You can and have the right, God given right, of divorce to save yourself and your children.
Absolutely. And I want to mention here, too, that for men, it's particularly difficult. There's an assumption that, you're a man. No woman can push you around like that. They get mocked if they bring it up, or they fear being, scorned, or they fear being, yeah, people, guys will slap them on the back. Oh, you just have to show that woman who's boss. And they don't realize all of the deep, deep trauma that's already been instilled in that man. And it's not. Just want to make this very clear. Yes, my audience is female, but men, nobody should ever be abused. And that does include men. And I am just as passionate about no woman should be emotionally, physically, or however abusing their man either. It doesn't make it right. It's not cool. It's not an empowered woman. It's an abusive woman who does that. So go ahead.
Absolutely. And it's not only extends to humans, it extends to animals too. Because so many times I hear horrid, heartbreaking stories about people adopting animals, like rescue animals from the shelters, only to abuse them and neglect them so bad that they literally die in their cage. And that is a travesty. No animal should even go through that
Mm-hmm.
either.
No, ma'am. So what else do you have to share with us?
Um, Going back to the abuse on a human level, is that I 10 years ago, um, basically believed everything my father said to me. Most of it, I realize now, was utter lies, designed as advice or expertise or knowledge or wisdom, some higher qualities to make my father look like the saint or the guided one. But in reality, it was a disguise for manipulation, narcissist controlling behavior that fed his own selfish needs, wants, demonic thoughts, whatever you want to call it. And I believed it because it's what I was surrounded by 24/7. If you have something as your environment that you're immersed in and day out for pretty much almost all your life, you're going to believe every little word they say. And those negative beliefs, false beliefs, inaccurate beliefs become your mental state and your belief about yourself. And when that happens, it degrades every shred of self esteem, self worth, hope for betterment of yourself for the future or for anybody in the world. Because this is something I struggled with, I would say a bit of an identity crisis until I got older and realized what it was and started healing from it, thank God, that I thought everything he said was true. So I believed it. And not only that, when I was surrounded by it, I thought that was the reality. So if the reality, I'm telling myself, okay, my reality is my father hurts me, so I should accept that as normal. It's not normal, let me just say that. So if I accept that as normal and he hurt me, my parent, one of my parents, my mom's the other one, thank God my mom is good and loving and nurturing and all the good qualities. If he, as my father, was supposed to be the leader, the guider, a teacher, encourager, protector, and he of all people hurt me the worst way you could hurt a person, let alone a child, I expect everyone in the world to do the same thing because that was my reality. So I was afraid at that point of everyone, everything, myself. I lived every second in fear. And that plummeted or skyrocketed my anxiety, depression, and all other health symptoms, but especially made me what they call agoraphobic, where I didn't even want to leave the house. My mom can tell you, she can testify to this. I was in her house when she took me back in after she learned I was suicidal, and I had blackout curtains because I didn't want to see the light. I didn't want to go to the outside world. I wanted to stay in the chair all day, not eat, not drink. I just basically wanted to die in that chair.
Wow. That's
Yeah, it was rough for a long
and
time.
how long were you agoraphobic about?
6 months to a year until I got out of my therapy. And then out of my therapy, she started encouraging me to go on family outings and dinners and stuff. Even if it was, oh, can you go check the mail for me? She could check it, but she was trying to get me out.
Did your therapist come to your home then, or did you go to see your therapist?
I went to the therapist. It was something called the life management something something
Mhm.
facility where they had therapy, they had emergency watch for suicide people like me. They had people that had like other mental sort of illnesses or whatever that they had to be on 24-hour monitoring like watch or medication for it around the clock. But my mom said, no, I'm not going to have my child locked up and living in an institution for the rest of her life. No, you watch her to make sure she doesn't do anything crazy for the first 24 hours because that's your mandate or whatever you got to follow. Whatever, fine. I don't like it, but okay. After that, you release her to me. She's in my care. I will help her on our terms, privately at home, mother to daughter, with God's help, of course, like anything else. And I remember this to the day I die. She paid her last $150 from her, what was it, Social Security, disability, whatever government assistance she gets. I forget what it is, and took it out of her rent money and stuff, and paid it so I could go to that emergency session. So they make sure I didn't literally kill myself in that moment. And they watched me for 24 hours. I was crying like I don't know what. I hated the questions they asked me because it was like reliving like a movie reel, like a Lifetime movie, but it was my real life that I was playing in my
Mhm.
mind. And the trauma just kept coming back like movies, like, flashbacks, And I just hated it because every time they would ask me a question, I was right back in the abuse in that moment, every instance of it. And I just really hated it. I was like, why you have to ask me these painful questions? Why? Like, I just hate it. And I would be so exhausted in every sense of the word from like being emotionally drained after all those sessions. I was like, Mom, do I really have to keep going back? I hate it. She said, honey, if you ever want to heal properly, you got to do it. She said, I did it. Your brother did it. Your sisters did it. We all had to do it in some facet, shape, or form because that's how bad your dad abused us all. And I said, you know what? There's a place for him. We all know where that is.
Thank God for your mother. Thank God for your
Thank God,
mom.
exactly. She saved me. I don't want to cry, but I tell her all the time that I owe her my life, quite literally.
Yeah. No, that's okay. You can cry. This is a space that you can do that. And believe me, I guarantee you, people will listen to this and go, she just gave me the freedom to not have to live like that anymore. You
Yeah,
know?
because you know what? I have to admit, that's the only reason I was suicidal because I thought I had to live like that for the rest of my life and I didn't want to. My soul was
Yeah.
conflicting with what I thought was my reality. Keyword thought was my
Yeah.
reality. And people just don't know. It's not
Yeah.
true. You can be
Yeah.
happy. You have that
Yeah.
birthright.
I wish I could give you a hug right now, you know.
Thank
I
you.
really do, but I get it. I hear you. I really do. And you said so many important things, your thoughts are so important. How do you think about yourself? How do you think about things? Because it does shape the decisions you make, and it shapes who you attract to in your life, and it does so many things. And I also think that, as I've talked to other mental health experts, that they don't put enough emphasis on having available emergency care for people who are going through crises like that. It should be absolutely, I think it should be free, at least to get them through that critical period, because it's literally a life here
Yes.
we're talking about.
Hmm.
It's a good idea, it's a policy, it's human life and the quality of it. And I'm just, God, I can hear it, I can feel it, because I'm an empath.
Me too.
And you too, huh? Yeah.
That's why I
So
hurt so bad, honestly. I hurt for strangers I don't even know.
I got you. I got you. But you're able to still be who you are, bounce back, know that you just keep holding on to God, because trauma never leaves us 100%, you know,
Mhm,
because our emotions are stored everywhere, right, in all of our
mhm.
cells and so forth. But the difference is we don't have to have that run our lives. That's the difference. It doesn't run our lives. It's there. We have the memories. They come up. And I always tell people when they come up just to experience the emotion, because it's there. If you try to squelch it down, and I used to treat, I used to be an X-ray therapy tech, and I treated cancer patients. And I will never forget that this guy said, he said, yes, I have this kind of cancer and you're treating it, but you know what? This isn't now, of course, you have physical, you might inherit cancer, you might get it from your environment or whatever it was that caused it. But he said, you know what? Sometimes it's because you are not taking care of yourself. He said, this is from the stress that I allowed to run me for 15 years on this job I hated. And he said, there were times that I wished I wasn't here, which was interesting. And he said, now, look, interestingly enough, I have something eating, literally eating at me from the inside out. So it is that important to take care of that, of your emotional needs, take care of them, reach out. You reach out. We got to get rid of this culture of shame. I do notice more people speaking up. I mean, it's really, we're seeing glimmers of light in this whole mental health spectrum. People are talking about the issues they have without shame, and knowing that, if somebody is abusing you, it is not ever your fault. It's not your fault that they're abusing you. You have done nothing but just be on the earth and be around the person who they choose to abuse you. Okay. And yeah, we can get into what drives them, but the thing is, they don't have the right to abuse you, and it is never your fault. I think when people really get that, their lives open up, because it's like, wait a minute, if it's not my fault, I have other options. Like you said, I can be happy. I can find a road out. Somebody can be there for me. I can find my own strength. I can find that resilience. I'm not saying it's easy. We know that. There's no easy path to get there. You suffered. Let's face it. Let's just talk about it. But here you are, turning your struggle and your suffering into a passionate mission to support others through your business. Uh, so providing that safe space that you did not always have, and it's also healing for you, because as you help them heal, it also heals things within you. And like I always tell people too, you got to have that higher power. Sorry, folks, these folks that go, well, I don't really believe. Yeah, you got to have that higher power, because only your higher power can heal you from the inside out. Doctors might be able to heal you externally. They can give you something to heal your organs, they can help you heal your skin and stuff like that. They can do surgery, but only God can heal you from the inside out. So you have to let him in. You have to let him in. And that way too, you learn to love yourself, because God is love. God is that love. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I got on my soapbox, Rashida.
That's okay. I agree. Amen. I must say amen, amen, amen. Infinity times amen, my sister, because a lot of people think, oh, it's taboo to talk about God. It's taboo to talk about religion or spirituality or whatever. No, it's not. It's taboo to hide it, in my opinion. Because, first of all, none of us, any creature on earth or in existence anywhere, would ever exist without God. Number one, okay? We have to admit that. The truth. Secondly, when all other healing mechanisms or methods or modalities fail consistently, no matter what you try, God is the only one that's going to make it better. And that's no matter how many people you have in your support network, how many prescriptions you take, how many therapies you go to. If all that is not working, or talking to a guidance counselor, whatever, all that is not working, only God can make it better. And I've spent countless times crying myself to sleep, crying to God, God, please, you are the all powerful, the all knowing. Any positive adjective you can insert there, all, whatever the positive adjective is about God, He's all of it. Okay? The greatest power that ever is. He doesn't get hungry. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't get sleepy. There's no limits to his blessings, miracles, mercies, abundance, healing, whatever. So why would we be shy or hesitant to ask him, God, please help me? You know how I need to be helped. You know how I need to be healed. When, where, who contributes to that on a human level, because I know it comes from you first, but it trickles through and filters through the human vessels that you send those healing messages and methods through, because it cannot filter through if it doesn't come from God. So It is okay and highly encouraged and necessary, actually, to talk about God openly. Whether you say it's God, I say Allah, somebody else says Buddha, higher power, universe, source energy. He has a zillion different names. Whatever. Is the point you seek some protection or some help or some healing from something clearly, undeniably higher than all of our basic humans that are roaming around this earth? Do we not?
Oh man, I'm telling you. I might just take that clip and just like play it 1,000 times through the
Sure.
through the mall or stuff like that because it's just so important too, and it reminds you you're never alone. So you never have to be alone. You might feel alone, but God is always there. And I say that because yeah, I tell people to reach out, but let's say, you call someone and nobody, no one's home, no one's available, they're doing something else, they have their phone turned off or whatever. You are never alone. You are never alone. And see, if you think, oh, this, like you said, there are no other options and there's no other outcomes. That's just not true. That is not true. Our lives, we don't know from one day to the next what's coming. Obviously, good, bad, indifferent, or interesting, I call it. But we do know that if we wake up, we're not done yet. If we wake up in the morning and we're still here, we have a purpose. There's always been a plan for us. Our Creator knew us before we were who we are. And knowing who we are is empowering. I'm going to say that again. Knowing who you are is empowering. Then after that, when people try to mistreat you or try to say something wrong, you learn how to draw boundaries. You learn how to speak up for yourself and say, that's not appropriate. I'm not comfortable with that. You can't talk to me like that. If you need to talk to me like that, our conversation is ended. A lot of times I realize people don't give themselves permission to do these things. And I really admire you, Rashida, because I've gone through other stuff. I mean, everybody's gone through stuff, but I did not grow up with abusive parents. They weren't perfect. Nobody is. Kids don't come with instructions, but they were not abusive. And I did not have to go through that particular experience. But there are millions of people who are, because I know people tend to feel alone. No, there are millions, and they grow up to be traumatized adults, right? Especially if you don't do anything to heal yourself, if you don't learn how to talk to someone. And I think that if you have facilitated groups, and you sit with a group of people who have been through something like that, it's so healing to know you're not alone, that it was okay for you to feel the way you did, that when you didn't act, it was okay because at that point you didn't know, you didn't have the tools, you didn't know the support was there. I mean, this is so important. This is so vital. And I'm hoping that by hearing these things, people will be reminded. I mean, you are living proof, Rashida, that no matter how bad the situation is, and there are some bad situations out there, you're here. You're in one piece. You are connected to your higher power lovingly. And how can I tell that? Because you're loving towards others. And your self love is apparent. Your self love is apparent because you still love yourself despite all the lies you were told. You recognize them as lies. You love yourself. You're able to share that love with other people. I mean, what more can anyone ask for? I mean, your authenticity, your genuineness is showing through. I don't see anybody joining us on the chat, so whatever. But you know what? If you have more to tell us, more to share, please do so. You okay? Are you there? Oh, it looks like we might. Rashida, if you can't hear me, it seems like for some reason I cannot. I don't hear her. Oh, she says she can hear me. Let's see what's going on. Stuff happens, folks. All right. Well, do you have anything else to share? Maybe you can put it in the chat if for some reason your mic just decided to stop talking. No, I cannot hear you, Rashida, for some reason. You may try going out and coming back in, or just to see if you accidentally hit the button on your mic. It might have been the energy of what we were discussing. No, not really. But yeah. Okay, so she asked me to wait for her to come back in. So that's exactly what we're going to do for a second. And in the meantime, please hold on for a second because we want to hear what she has to say. She has not finished sharing her story or her message, so she will be coming back in here. Okay, let's see. Okay, now Rashida, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, and I can hear you. You know what?
Great.
Tech does what it does, but please share what you have to tell us next.
Troubleshooting at its finest. Good Lord testing me. You say you're a mental health advocate, but you also say you're a tech guru. Let's prove it live on air. Okay, challenge accepted. But the other things I want to express to let everyone know is that um, you can transmute pain into healing for yourself and for others. And a lot of times people don't realize is that while you're helping, or I would say guiding, not helping, guiding other people to find their healing on their own terms, in their own time, when they're ready, or sometimes not when they're ready, but when they're at least open to trying it, you heal yourself as well in the process. It's a major collective component to this because you don't realize how much you needed to help other people to feel valuable, worthy, like there's a reason you're still here, your purpose. And that's what I mean, transmuting pain into purpose, because I could have just as easily stayed consumed in the pain and been depressed forever, suicidal forever. We all know how that ends. I don't want that for anyone.
No.
No one. Not even people that I don't like. There's people that I don't want to call them enemies, but that you don't get along with, or they don't get along with you, or whatever, and they've done wrong things to you. And that, for example, like my dad, I don't even wish it on him as much as he hurt me and my family. I still don't wish it on him. I pray for his soul that God will maybe forgive him. He might go through some consequences, I'll say it that way to make it clean and not cursing and stuff. He might go through some consequences here on earth or in the afterlife or both until the point where God says, hey, I forgive you, whatever. But I leave that decision to God. It's not for me to say, hey, you're forgiven, you're not forgiven, or you're going to go to the pits of we know where. It's not my decision. I pray God will change his heart if he's willing to open up and change his heart before time runs out, before Judgment Day rolls around, so he can save his soul, number one. And number two, save the souls of the people that he would have otherwise abused in society, because it wasn't just us. He was rotten to neighbors, he was rotten to everyone he came across. And when we asked him about it or confronted him about it, oh, I wasn't doing that. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. Denial, forgetful of the whole situation, or pretending to be forgetful of the situation, basically not taking accountability for, oh, I did some rotten things. I'm sorry for that. We never got any apologies, none of us. I'm sorry for that. Or I want to learn to be better. You guys went to therapy. Maybe I should go to therapy too to learn, okay, what within me made me think it was okay to do this to people, or to say things hurtful to people, or to act in such an ill mannered way to everyone he interacts with. And then other times he could be like a split personality where it's like, I don't know if they call that bipolar or what, but where, okay, 1 minute he's the monster from down below, where pits
Yeah.
of whatever. And 1 minute he's like sweet as can be, whatever. So it's like juxtaposed, contradicting each other, to where like you try to put this front of like you're so sweet to everybody, but behind the scenes, behind closed doors, you're a monster from where. But it didn't match. And he will always be doing things like, okay, we're in a Walmart parking lot, for example. We were homeless at one point. We were living in the car, whatever. He got a little can of like beef chili, whatever, scrape some in a little bowl and be like, here, give some water, here, give that to the dog. In those instances, okay, oh, you're a good man. I told him that. Looking back, I was like, okay, some things were good, some things were bad. And I took a long time to admit that because it was really hard to admit because for the longest time until I started to heal, I could only remember the bad things because I only remembered the pain. And that was really hard to swallow because I didn't want to remember anything good about him. I was like, he's just a total monster. He's total demonic evil, devil spawn. I don't want to have any part of him. But I have to admit, really, when I'm really getting down to it, there were some good things about him. Everybody has some good and some bad. Some more bad than good, some more good than bad. But I just hope that really for his soul's sake that he can really change before Judgment Day rolls around. And if he doesn't, whatever God decrees for him, is going to have to deal with it. And I told him when I got out of therapy, one of the last things I said to him, you can lie to me, you can lie to our family, you can lie to yourself, but you cannot lie to God, and none of us can escape his wrath if we don't get our act together before Judgment Day. He never spoke to me again.
Hmm. Maybe he didn't speak to you again, but he heard you.
Mm,
He heard you. Whew.
yeah.
And when you were talking about forgiveness, now I do believe in forgiving people because I have found it to be healing.
Mm-hmm.
In the Christian body of belief, we believe that when you forgive, then you can be forgiven for anything that you've done. And it gets rid of the ire, the anger, the
Mm-hmm.
holding on to the pain, right? I mean, let's face
Right.
it. When people hurt you, when they do something bad, they've given you pain. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you gave me that pain and you shouldn't have. And it's true. I mean, let's face it, there are things that people do, like you said, that are bad. They're not completely bad people, but some people, it's like they live their entire life hoping never to show the good part side of him. And
Mm-hmm.
it's hard sometimes to forgive when the wrong has been pretty severe. But boy, I've just, to me it's freedom. To me it's
Mm-hmm.
freedom. I'm not hanging on to the anger and resentment, and I know people who live like that. And you know what, Rashida, they're never happy
Yep.
because they're,
That's true.
it's like you're holding on to something. And if you let it, to me, let go, let God handle it. Let God handle it. They have to reconcile with him. and then, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
nobody does it better. And once you do that, I didn't say it was easy to forgive, but it's interesting. It's like a muscle. It's like, you get in the habit of forgiving. I didn't say forgetting, because you don't want to, like, if someone tried to kill you and they would try to do it again, you don't want to be around that person, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
let's not do that. But you can forgive them in your heart, and sometimes I just say, I forgive you, I forgive you. And I say it, I forgive you in the name of the Lord. In the name of the Lord, I forgive you. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. It starts to ease. It becomes easier. You spend less time with that anger and resentment space, and there's so much of that is associated too with the trauma. It's interesting. If you start to heal one part of that process, you can start to heal another part of that process, and another. Not completely. I don't know if you know Maria Bolanek, but she does a lot of work with people with dealing with grief,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't completely go away, but you learn to live with it, really live with it, not just
Mm-hmm.
survive. In other words, quality of life. Um, and love it. It makes it easier for you to love yourself and love others because you're a forgiving person. You can
Mm-hmm.
let go of stuff. Um, and and it's perfectly okay if once in a while those feelings come back and you remind yourself, I forgive you in the name of the Lord. And it's I find it to be, it's almost miraculous. And that some people that I never thought, never thought I'd forgive, and I have, even though those emotions, like I said, your emotions are a part of you. So it's not like you can just wash them off. Like, when you get your hands dirty, you just wash. You turn on the water, you have the soap. But when it comes to something deep, a deep hurt, you're forgiving. Then it's not that easy. But you kind of work with it. You just keep working with it, and you feel better. That stress and anxiety, a lot of that is associated with not letting go of the anger and the resentment, and just going, okay, I'm not able to change that person. They have to make that decision for themselves. I can only work on me. And I
Mhm.
want, and I want my life. You sound like very much like that. You wanted, after you did all the suffering and you finally started to heal with a, I'm so glad that your mother helped you and that you found therapy that was beneficial. Then you got to heal. It's like, oh, okay. I, and then you lift up. You feel lighter because you're not carrying the burden of all the funk that you've been holding on to. And I actually, when I got my divorce, and that was very tough. I got my divorce. I went through this, it was like a meetup group, I guess you would call it now. And
Mhm.
we talked about a lot of things, and people did really well, and they were going. And then it came to the forgiveness, and some of them dropped out because they weren't yet ready to forgive. If you can get past that point, it's like you're opening up windows and doors for fresh air. It really is in your life, and you just hand it over to the Lord. It's like, or if you find yourself having trouble to forgive, ask Him for the strength. Ask Him, give me the strength to forgive, because then I'm telling you, it's so empowering. It's so empowering because you're not carrying 100 pounds of. I try to compare it to like 100 pounds uh, of grief and pain and resentment, and instead you can just be you. With all that God has given you, you can just be you. It looks like Marcia Lee, who is a wonderful person who works for Community Health. She's just joined us. And thank you, Marcia, for I hope you've been able to listen to part of this before you got on the chat, because Rashida has a lot to say. And please, Rashida, I know you have more to say.
I want to say hi, Marcia. Welcome. I don't know how much you heard, but welcome. And please listen to the replay later of any parts that you missed, because as humans, we all need to hear this, okay? Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. Um, about the forgiveness thing, yes, it is one of the hardest things to do, but it is not impossible. I thought for so many years it was impossible. I never thought I would forgive my father. I thought I would always hurt, and then there would be that aching, that emptiness in my heart for the father I wished he could be. But one day I woke up and I had to accept reality. Nothing my family, my mom, my siblings, myself, or any human being could ever do, or say, or think, or not do, not say, or not think was going to make a difference to change how he acted with people, how he treated or mistreated us, or anyone else in society, and that if we can't change him, only one can. You know who that one is?
God,
God. God.
that's
So
it.
I left him to God. I said, God, I've been carrying this emotional baggage for 33 years. 33 years. I
Mm,
let it go. I relinquish it to you. Let it leave my body, my mind, my spirit, and all traces of every cell in me, and replace it with utter peace, utter
mm.
happiness that I know you want me to embrace. And I let it go.
That's very healing. It's very
Very.
healing.
Now, I'm
And
not going to say that I didn't cry a whole river
oh
during
yeah,
that release process,
oh
but
yeah.
I needed to sit uncomfortable enough in those emotions, as rough as it was. And I hated it. It felt so bad. It hurt so bad, but I needed to sit in that pain
And
to
look
get
at the
past
human
it.
being, and look at the human being you are today because of it.
To get
Look what,
past it. Yeah.
yeah, and look what a gift you've become to us.
Thank
You're
you.
a gift. You really are. And I love it. I love it that you prayed, and I'm
Hmm.
sure there were plenty of tears, plenty of tears.
Yeah,
But tears are a release. They are a
they are.
release. And
They're healing in their own right. They are.
they are.
And one of my friends on LinkedIn, Zarar, I don't know if you know him,
No.
he gave me some beautiful wisdom. In one of the previous LinkedIn events we were at, I forget how long ago, but one of his original quotes or wisdoms was, Next time you cry, touch your face and feel the temperature of your tears. The warm tears are happy tears. The cold ones are sad tears, and you're releasing them as a healing. Your body is letting go of the baggage you have let weigh you down so long, and you have to let them out, even though it hurts letting them out. But you have to let them out so you can heal and you can move past it. Because one of my other friends told me a while back, about 10 years ago, when I was suicidal, she said, Rashida, I know you think you don't deserve to be here or don't want to be here or whatever, but if the good Lord wanted to take you already, he would have took you himself some way or some form. But the fact that he didn't take you and left you still on earth means you're meant to be here. There's work he still has left to do through you. And that made me realize, oh, I'm not meant to go yet. It's not my time. And then it made me question, well, if it's not my time, what am I going to do while I'm still here? What is that work that I don't know of yet? At that time, I didn't know, but now I do. It's to enlighten people, to save people, to give them a living proof story of hope that you can get out. You must want to get out. And there's ways and resources and help to get out. Not all of those resources are free, which most of them should be, honestly, because like you
Honestly,
said earlier, it's about saving a life. And if it meant saving a life or putting money in my pocket, you better believe I would not take a penny.
that's right. Oh,
Now, that's not to say that legitimate business is frowned upon. No.
no,
Legitimate business is for the folks that are comfortable with their pocketbooks and can spare it. But you've got to cater to the other side too, the folks that cannot spare it, but their soul sure needs it.
yeah, and it gives them such hope.
Yes.
And Marcia says she's definitely going to listen to the replay because this is deep and tears are an absolute release. And oh, I'm telling you, I think if people know, I think just knowing that there's somebody out there who cares enough to share from experience. It's not like you had just everything lovely and then you decided to do this, but this is from the heart.
Hmm.
You survived it, and you more than survived it. You thrived beyond it. And yes, you have to, like I said, those memories come up and you have that past, but it's not running you at all you are doing is sharing your experience so other people know they're not alone. They're not the only ones who went through something like this. There is hope. You are living proof. And that the joy, like there might be joy ahead, and relationships that are um, encouraging and supportive and warm and loving, as opposed to what they may have been through. And that no matter what's going on, whether they have a relationship or not, they have value and they are lovable and they are loved by their creator, no matter what. And then, of course, if they have family members that they heal those relationships, they have that support as well. Because unfortunately, when you're suffering, like you said, a lot of times all you can do is concentrate on the suffering, and but then when you kind of get away from it, when you get away from it and you realize, wow, you know what? That whole time I had hope. That whole time it was waiting for me. God was waiting for me to open up my heart and to reach out and get the help I need, and find someone who understood, really understood intimately, from the inside out, what it's like to go through what I went through. Literally, I believe whether or not people will get back with you about this recording, they're
Hmm.
going to listen and it may change their lives. They may just go get the help they need. You know what I mean? Or they may say, you know what? I don't deserve to hurt like this at the hands of someone else. It literally may save lives. And just the possibility of that, it just makes it so worthwhile. And I know, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, because that I can hear the passion in your voice. You're so happy to be able to do this from a position. When I say a position of power, I'm not talking about dominating people, but from a position of you have found your personal power and your self love and your peace with the Lord. And now you're sharing. It's like, hey, folks, you don't need to stay in that dark tunnel with no light at the end. There really is light at the end. There's a path, There's a journey because you this didn't happen overnight, for God's sake. But you really have. I mean, just by your willingness to share, somebody's gonna find some healing. They're gonna find some healing. They're gonna get out of a bad situation, or they're gonna find it easier to forgive from the things that you've said. And that's that. Like I said, if, money will come, money will go. If in the course of doing my business, I actually help others, either directly or through other people that I have conversations with or work with, then it's all worth it. You know, to me it is.
Amen. And I've
Oh,
always believed that if you're doing everything according to the Lord's will with that higher purpose of saving lives, of course, God willing, He's going to be pleased with your work that you're doing for that sake, saving human lives on His behalf, pretty much. That how could He not be pleased with you? Even if you make some mistakes, who doesn't?
who
And
doesn't?
the other very important thing I want to emphasize, anybody who listens to this recording or is listening now, please, please listen closely. If you take nothing else away from this discussion, listen to this closely. Our Lord, the Lord of every one being that exists, human or not, answers upon every time one of his servants calls. Humans were the servants. No matter how much you call, whether you speak the words, you think it in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, whether you cry it, whether you write it, whether you sing it, no matter what communication you call upon the Lord, He will answer you every time. So even if no humans are left, call upon the Lord. You will survive with Him. He's got our backs.
He definitely does. And I love what Marcia said. She said, "Getting help is many facets. You have to want help. Find a
Hmm.
mental health provider that has the same energy. Trust the process, and do the work." I mean that
Num-
is
Number
it
four
in
is
a
very
net. And
big, yes.
do the
Because if you
work.
do
Yeah.
all the other steps, but don't do number four, you're going to basically go backwards. And any progress a therapist might have had with you, you're going to undo it and erase it. And you're going to be starting from zero again because you always come up against the roadblock of, I don't want to do the work internally because it hurts too much. And I was there before. Trust me, I was. But what you
Yeah.
don't realize, it's like taking poison and expecting someone else to die. I hate to have such a harsh, analogy,
Yeah.
but it's true. If you don't want to do the internal work, you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah. And I know some people, they dread the work, but
Hmm.
I always say picture the other side. Picture being on the other side.
Hmm.
Picture being, for instance, where you are, Rashida. Picture the what it is in your heart that you want to feel. The happiness, the joy, the relief, the
Yes,
release.
relief.
Um,
Hmm.
you know, picture that, and it helps you to do the work because you keep in mind what the ultimate outcome that you want. Because that's the only way I've been able to do some stuff. I mean, I'm just like
Hmm.
just the thought of it. Oh, doing all that. Picture you at the end of that journey and being where you want to be, whether it's you want more happiness or you just want to feel at peace with yourself, comfortable with who you are. You want to feel that self-love. You want to get that hug from someone who really cares. Picture that at the end of all this. And
Hmm.
it will help give you the energy because it does take energy, right, to do the work. Lots of emotional energy. And I tell people all the
Hmm.
time, physical energy, yeah, everybody runs out after a while, right, if you don't replenish. But boy, that emotional energy really wears on you. So take care of yourself. You continue to drink water, eat something nutritious, right? If you can, get some sleep. Do those things. Go take a walk. Take care of yourself while you're going through the emotional part, because and then it really will help you keep up your physical energy. And then because the emotional energy is so taxing, it is. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's not an easy thing. But imagine yourself, like I said, at the end of this journey, going, "My gosh, look how far I've come." Or what part of your journey? Look how far I've come. I made it to this point that I didn't think I could. And you know that yourself, Rashida,
Mhm.
from what you
Mhm.
expressed. Anyway, we are getting close to the end of our session here, which we probably could have done for about 10 hours. Oh, Marcia says it is an entire job. Yes, the recovery,
Mhm.
it is a job. Yes, thank you for that. Um, and I'm going to make sure that I put on here your link. They'll be able to
Oh,
see
thank
it
you.
on screen. Yes, so that they can contact you. They can also contact you on LinkedIn. Maybe they just have a personal question that they didn't want to ask in the chat.
That's
But
fine.
which is fine because you want them to feel safe. And
Yes.
they may want to talk to you. They may want to work with you. And you've been such a gift. And like I said, I hated that it was a result of a lot of pain, but that's part of growth. That's part of
Mhm.
life sometimes, that you have to go through some pain or discomfort, right, to get to the other side of it.
Mhm.
And when you get to the other side, it's like, thank you, God. Thank you for getting me to this point. Is there anything you wanted to end with? We've got about a minute or so.
Yes. One final thought, just to wrap up here. Um, Anybody that wants to reach out, please don't feel pressured to be public about it. I've done one-on-ones privately with some of my best friends and family, and it does not always have to be about the money. First off, it's about healing and about your soul. And whether something else comes from it, great. But I don't look for that in anybody. I look for, what is it going to do to talk to me, or me just listen. Sometimes they do the talking, and to heal them, to let them speak their voice. Another thing is about doing the work, the emotional drainage and stuff like that. Uh, Take whatever you're feeling, whatever negative emotion. This is people who are still in the thick of it. Okay, I'm talking to you guys right now. If you're still in the thick of it and you hate every day, I'm being real, you hate every day. Whatever emotions you're feeling that's making you hate every day, write them on a paper. On one side, write those emotions. On the other side, write the direct opposite of it. In other words, if one side you say, I hate life, on the other side, write, I love life. The direct opposite of everything. Sadness on one side, joy on the other. Pain on one side, purpose on the other. And ask yourself, what would it feel like if I was at an emotional state where I achieved all of, or at least half of, the positive ones on the right side of that paper? And if you want to get more of the ones on the right side of that paper than the left one, reach out to someone. It's whether it's me, whether it's God, your counselor, your leader in your place of worship, someone in the grocery line. I've talked to people in the grocery line, and you never know, because sometimes I don't see them again. Just that moment of smiling, kindness, acknowledging their existence, small talk, little banter, whatever, that could have been the difference between them doing something senseless and deciding to give it one more day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rashida. Out of respect for
My pleasure.
everyone's time, I'm going to go ahead and close out. And of course, you are invited to come back at another time if you want to talk about another topic that's related to this, or you have a new
Sure.
program or something that you're making available to people, or you have a new resource. Please do share, because that's how we empower each other with some information. And ladies, once again, I ask you to whatever's going on, take care of yourself, please. Take care of yourself, and we will come back here next week with another topic. And hopefully, this is really contributing to you. And thanks again, Rashida, for gracing our program here with your presence.
My pleasure, Therese. Thank you so much for welcoming me into our sisterhood and giving hope to people out there that need to hear our messages. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.